Hey guys, John here. Today we are checking out the best Marshall JCM800 plugin ever made, probably. Of course, I'm talking about the newly updated Mercuriall Spark for Ampbox. And we're going to start right away with the demo track and then take a closer look. Take a listen. Alright, that sounded really nice. That was my ESP E2 Eclipse in Vintage Honeyburst, the full thickness Eclipse with the Seymour Duncan JB in the bridge, going straight into the DAW and into the plugin, and I thought that sounded really awesome. Now, Spark by Mercuriall is a really well-known plugin, I think, especially well-known for being such an excellent Marshall amp sim. It really has that British Marshall crang going on. But now the folks from Mercuriall, they updated the plugin and incorporated it into their Ampbox platform. They made some updates, they added some cool stuff, and it's even better now. So we're gonna take a closer look and see what's new and see how it sounds, okay? Wonderful, so I'm in the DAW session now. This is the session for the intro demo track. And I have Ampbox by Mercuriall loaded up on the guitar track. This is the sound that I used for that intro song. Let's take a quick listen. So it sounds rich and sort of warm, but it also has that really nice upper mid crang and string definition that is really typical JCM800E, if you know what I mean. And the Duncan JB also really helps with that. You know, it brings out the clarity. And without that, you don't have a JCM800 tone, basically. For this tone, I had a gate up front. In the cab block, I have loaded up just one of the stock cabinets, the G12M with EQ option, a little bit of plate reverb, and that's it. So a very basic preset. Now in the DAW, I did apply a high-pass filter, which I'll turn off at, 80 Hertz. So I'm going to turn that off right now. Now, in case you're not aware, of the Ampbox platform, it's basically a platform where you can add amps, so you can buy separate amps. So let's check the amps that I have. I think I have the Euphoria, which is like a Bogner Ecstasy. Reaxis, which is like a Mesa Boogie Triaxis. Recto Fire, which is a Recto, of course. We also have the 6163, EVH Stealth, stuff like that. And today we're going to take a look at the Spark. Now the cool thing is you can buy those amps separately, so you can customize the plugin based on the amps that you want to purchase for this platform. Now about this platform, You get a bunch of effects with all the amplifiers, of course. So at the gate, we have a dynamics section with a couple compressors. We have a graphic EQ to shape the tone. We have a wah that you can tweak a little bit. We have overdrive pedals. So a couple different overdrive pedals to choose from. We have some distortion pedals to choose from, including the legendary HM2. So that is fun. We have a flanger. This is the preamp section, of course, where you can, choose your preamp. You can turn the power amp off as well and use just the preamp section. This is the cabinet section. We can tweak that a little bit in a second. Parametric EQ, modulation effects, stereo chorus or micro pitch shift, delay, reverb. So it's a really big platform and you can do a bunch of stuff there. Now let's focus on the Spark amp now. That's why we're here after all. There's a couple of modes here, which is nice. That means that you can sort of mod the sound of the amplifier. Let's take a listen to the different modes. I went with the 36 because I thought that sounded the best for this demo track. There's also a power amp mode. So you've got the mod or the 2204. And then you have a tube option, either JJ or WC. And you can choose the input. Let's start with the input. So right now I'm on the high sensitivity input. That's the crunchy tone, the higher gain tone. And when you click on low, you get the low sensitivity input. The difference is going to be more noticeable on the 800 mode. So that's basically, just as with the real JCM800, your input. Low is good for clean tones, basically. So this is the modded mode that I used, obviously. And it sounds nice and thick. Let's try the 34 mode. I believe that the 34 mode is what Slash used, if I'm not mistaken. It's a little bit more crangy, a little bit more string definition and bark there. And then the standard 800 mode. Let me crank the gain up. So that's what I would use for a bit more of a vintage tone. Let's go back to the 36. Let me lower the gain a touch. And then let's try the power amp type. First, starting on the mod and then going to the 2204. The 2204 mode sounds a little bit more stiff, and I like the warmth of the mod, okay? But you know what, let's stick with the 2204, which is, I suppose, the stock power amp voicing. Then let's try the tube mode. The JJ seems to have a little bit more juice. So that's what I'm going to stick with for now. But it's cool that you have those little tweaks so that you can, voice the amp to suit your own style. For vintage playing, I would go with the 800. For a bit more bark and clarity, I would go with the 34. And then for a little bit more of a modern sound, I would go with the 36. Let's see how much gain we have on tap. Yeah, so with more gain, the difference between the power amp type is even more drastic. The mod is a bit more compressed. And the JJ tube seems a little bit more balanced and perhaps a little bit more saturated. Cool. Yeah, so the 34 mode definitely has a little bit less saturation and gain going on than the 36 mode. And then finally the 800 mode. That's more vintage and more classic JCM. Let's go to a section that is a bit more classic in terms of the playing. And then let's try the amps once again. Let's put the gain to around 3 o'clock-ish and compare the modes once again. The EQ settings aren't exactly the same, but to be honest, with the JCM800, the EQ is not going to be very drastic, you know. I mean, not on the real amps, not in the plugin. I can demonstrate that. So, for example, let's try the mid control. When you scoop the mids, you're going to hear some scoopage there, but cranking it doesn't give you a drastically different sound or anything like that. Anyway, starting with the 800 mode. Nice. 34 mode. Definitely got that crang going on, right? It does remind me of Slash. Yeah, the thickness and the richness and the denseness of that 36 mode definitely is my preferred sound right here. That is cool. Now, what you can do, of course, say if you want a more classic 800 sound, but you want a little bit more juice, you could crank the input to add some gain, or add an overdrive pedal. So let's add an overdrive, and let's go with the classic 808, and let's see what that does. That is a nice sounding overdrive pedal. Very cool. Let's stick with that. Let's bump up the treble a little bit, add a little bit more bass. And with it off. Yeah, that is wonderful. That is wonderful. Let's try the flanger just for fun, because we're here. With modulation effects, I usually prefer to have them before the amp, so that's what I changed here. You can choose whether it's after the distortion or before the wah. That sounds really awesome. In fact, let's try the wah just for fun. That is one good sounding wah. I have the 535Q in real life as well, and I really like the thickness and throatiness of that wah. So that sounds really good. One more thing that I want to do is go to the cabinet section over here and try some of the different cabinets that are included. Now, of course, you can also load your own IRs, which is a must for any AmpSim plugin, I think. For this video, we're just going to stick with the stock cab because it's quite good. You can move the mics around and all that good stuff. So let's try a couple different cabs first. As I said, I'm on the modern G12 EQ, which has some subtle EQ. Let's start with the top one and just go through the list, okay? Yeah, so for my taste, from the non-EQ'd cabs, I think the greenback sounds the most balanced for this particular amp. The K120S isn't my thing. So yeah, just to give you an idea, now let's have some fun with the mics and move the mics around. Let's do just the 57. I must say that that sounds really realistic, right? That's really wonderful. I also added some reverb, and these are actually reverb IRs taken from reverb hardware units. In this case, the L480. There are some other options as well, and they sound quite nice. Let's try a couple. Delay Warrior, and let's raise the blend. That is cool. It's like a delay. Hall 300. Cool. That is nice. Large room. Yeah, that sounds really cool. Guitar plate is what I used. So, that is nice. Some high quality reverbs there, and you can also load your own. So that is wonderful. And yeah, you can do a bunch more stuff. So it's a really fun platform. And I think that they did a great job for the new updated Spark for Ampbox. And I recommend checking it out. Now, if you already own Spark, I believe that you'll get this update for free. So that is also really wonderful. I really enjoyed making this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it. Thanks so much to the folks at Mercuriall for sponsoring this video. I really appreciate it. And you guys, let me know in the comments down below what you thought of the tones here. I'm impressed. I think it sounds really awesome. And it's probably the best JCM800 sim out there because of how it sounds, because of how flexible it is, and also because of the additional mods that you can use to shape the tone and to customize or mod the amp to your taste. So that is wonderful. Now, if you want to support this channel, please hit the like and subscribe buttons, as that really helps the channel out. You can also check out my website where I sell a bunch of digital products. You can get something in my affiliate links as well for Thomann and Sweetwater. And yeah, let me know your thoughts, and I hope to see you soon in the next video. Cheers, guys.